What does a Puttyfoot girl? It's a Puttyfoot girl. To get a chair and sit next to me. I think probably. Sweet terrain. It's a good girl. It's a good girl. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this 1 hour in-depth seminar on how I started making the oils, how I make them today, and the secrets behind why most people who work with oils kind of are baffled by my oils and how they don't go off, in the sense of how can these oils be over 60 years old. Dr. Emoto wrote a book regarding his experience. I don't care whether you wear a white coat or not. I don't care whether you call yourself mainstream science or not. It means nothing to me, just words. What means to me in good energy is, and good faith is, what one person spent their life working on. So at 38 years old, I walked up the stairs of my first mentor, who was a Wiccan high priestess, and I saw a jar on top of a dressing table, a side table. In and amongst that, there was writings and lots of different things all over the place with this little words. And I said, yeah, I was really interested. I said, what's all this? And she says, oh, I'm casting spells. And she explained to me when she did them and things like that. And I wasn't really interested in the spells, but I was really interested in the oil. What's in the oil? I said, tell me what's in the oil. So the oil was basically sunflower oil. That's it. And there were flowers in there because she was keen on flowers. She knew everything about flowers. So she added certain flowers. And I said, is it always the same flowers? No, depending on what I feel. Okay, cool. Can I try it? And she says, yeah, sure. So I tried some. And I got thinking to myself, I'd love to do that, because I was a healer. And it made sense because people were using oils for many things. I thought this will probably go hand in hand. So I said, could I have some of it and put it into a little jar? Because one of the things she told me is that this oil has been with me everywhere I go. And I said, what do you mean? She says, well, I have this bottle, but I'm always adding to it. And I said, so how long have you had it for? She said, about 53 years, something like that, or 50 years, something. I can't remember. She died. I can't remember how old she was, but I think around about 50, 53. I could be wrong, but I'm like, what? You mean? But when you were a kid? Oh, yeah, I've had it. I was like, I couldn't believe it, but I believed she was telling me the truth. And I thought, okay, this is years and years old. Okay, why should she lie about that? So, okay, I'm going to take some. So I've got years of healing oil that she's worked with in this one jar. And she explained to me that I never run out of the oil. It never runs out. So I said, what do you do? She said, I top it up. So some years on, and I come to learn about Dr. Emoto and the fact that you can put good energy into something. And you realize that one single drop can hold the frequency that changes the whole of the water. I.e., if I've got a beautiful glass of water which is pure, and I take one drop of arsenic, the whole of that glass is poisoned. And so too with yin and yang, light and dark, good and bad, poison and a cure. Surely that drop if you put good energy into it, positive energy into it, you put it into a glass of water and you drink that water, the whole of the water now becomes energized to that frequency. Makes sense. What I found myself doing is working on crystals in the sense of I was holding crystals and putting them on my client and feeling the energy entering into the crystal. And like 1 day goes by, 2 days go by, 3 days go by. I'm doing healing sessions. And as I'm doing the healing sessions, I'm laying certain crystals on my client just out of a feeling to do it. Just lay them here and there. I knew nothing about other healers doing this work, but I was laying crystals. And I take one of the crystals home with me and hold it and feel, wow, this is it's changing. It's hot. It's tingling. It's making me feel this. It's making me feel that. So there's something in the power of healing. So I took this jar and I filled it with, at that particular time, I went to a store and found organic almond oil. And I added almond oil because I didn't want to buy cooking oil. And quite rightly so, it doesn't matter. It's oil, but then you realize it's refined, and I didn't want refined, and she wasn't very rich at the time, so it's what she used. I had a little bit more money because I was working, so I got almond oil. It was organic and it was free from GMO, and I thought, okay, it was a lot of money for me at that time, but I poured it in, and all of a sudden, I'm taking these flowers out. They were all wilted inside. They'd stayed the same kind of thing, but I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me. So I took them out, and all of a sudden I thought, I need to put crystals in here. And at that moment, I thought, what am I actually doing with this oil? What am I going to use it for? So all of these questions, all of these thoughts were coming to me, and I realized it was channeling. So I started putting crystals into this jar and soon realized that the jar wasn't big enough. So from that jar, it went slightly bigger. And I remember being at Vitamina down the road, and I'd finished a day of psychic readings and healings. And I came upstairs, and she'd got about 7 or 8 bottles, Anna Greta, 7 or 8 bottles of little oils. And what are these? Aromatherapy oils. And I said, can you mix them in oils and rub them on your clients? Yeah, that's exactly what you do. And I said, can I smell them? She said, that's what they're there for, testers. So I started smelling them. And instantly, as I smell, I thought, wow, this is what I'm going to put in my oil. Smelt another one. No, that's not right. Smelt another one. I want to put that in my oil. And that, in truth, is how it started. Until this day, every single jar that you see, there's 2 behind me there, there's 3 there, there's another, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, so many over there and 1 under there. There's 10 jars altogether. And my ritual routine every day is to touch the jars and put good energy into them. My ritual also is to use a singing bowl and use the singing bowl therapy in this room and the other room to bring frequency of high energy. The reason why I touch the jars is I put certain frequency into them depending on what I feel. Some days I will spend more energy and more time on a certain jar because I feel it needs more energetic work for no reason, just feel pulled to one of them. And that's how I work day to day. The jars are always one by one taken, placed onto that table, empty table. I get my bottles ready. I get my tops ready. I get my syringe ready to syringe out, always over what it says on here. It's nearly full to the top. I don't go by the amount. I put as much as I can in so it gets as high as I can without overflowing. I don't want to overflow and cause an issue, but I don't scrimp and scrape. I do my best to give more. So I get it all ready, and then I might do an hour before I even start to think about bottling. Before I even start to think about taking the jar and bottling, I have to feel my own energy. So I cleanse, first of all, by way of Palo Santo, or if I don't feel like it's strong enough today and I want more and I want to feel stronger, I'll sage and then Palo Santo. I will rub the very oil that I'm working on to connect to that energy. And then I'll sit down in one of these seats. I normally use my purple seat, but they've gone now. So I've got these comfy seats behind me. These are even more comfortable. So then I don't feel any pain. And I put my hands on the jar and I listen. And listening means I'm attuning to what needs to be put in the oil. Do I need different crystals in there? Do I need to go? Because I've got about 450 to 2,000 crystals in there. So I'll wait to hear the message, what needs to go in. So it might not be the oil is perfect, no change today, because the change of oil is due to the change of circumstance of a global tyranny, pain, suffering, and all the poisons and toxins that they use. So I'm always aware that maybe we need to change a oil with a certain crystal or crystals or more energy or more frequency to just keep up to the oils. So that in itself is beautiful because I'm always aware that it could change at any given moment. So soon as I sit down, I attune, feel if I need to get some crystals, I'll then go hold the crystals for 10, 15 minutes and then put them into the oil and say, okay, now that's ready. And then I'll see and feel if I need to get any other oil. Now, there's been many times that I've stopped, taken that oil, put it back because I've written down that this is a new oil that I need to get for this particular jar, which means that I now have to slightly change the oil in the frequency of whatever plant is now needed in there, the extract of the plant. So or whatever it is, it could be a fruit, it could be anything. So I'm always up for whatever is being said to me. So that's basically how I work with the oils. Once I'm ready with that jar, I start to then take the oil out as I'm saying a prayer. So it's a prayer which means positive energy, healing, love, and light. And I say other things. And I'm also visualizing as I'm pouring this beautiful oil into the glass bottle. I visualize a lot of the times a child skipping. I visualize a mum feeling healthier, depending on what that frequency is. So sometimes I could be using abundance oil and I could be using it in the sense of my thoughts are now changing, moving into the abundance oil for something completely different. So not so long ago, I was trying to help people extract poison from their body. So it was like you might have seen movies where somebody who's got the power to grab somebody and hold their arm and the poison's being drawn out of their body. So I might see that and put the energy of clearing out poison from the body, which I did do for energizing. I did do for sacred. So that happened about 3 years ago. So there's certain things I'll focus on depending on how I feel, and it's channeling. It's basically channeling the energy that's coming through. So the energy comes through anyway, whether I'm thinking about it or not, because it's all energy, it's all spirit, and they're channeling this energy anyway. So I'm just picking up on what they're showing me. So it's a kind of, we work together. So that's basically what I do. When I fasten the lid, put the sticker on, I hold it again for a couple of minutes as a final, I don't like to say ritual, blessing is probably better. And you probably already know what I say. And it's thank you, maybe 50 times. And then that bottle's done. So it's a beautiful process. It's a healing process. And to me, it's like meditation. Now, the business has grown so much that I spend, I'd say, 30% of my working year on making the oils, keeping up to the oils, because they sell. And especially when I do a special offer like I have now, where it's 120 for all of them, which is like giving them away. But I do it because I know people love them, and I know that then on they'll always buy them, or they'll be happy with them and say, oh, they were lovely oils. Some people are blown away by them. Some people don't feel anything with them, and that's okay, because some people don't feel anything sometimes of anything, and then maybe a year or 10 years later they can feel something and say, oh wow, I feel it now. So I never take it personally. I just think, you know, it is what it is. And sometimes we use things and we don't even know why we use them, and the job gets done and we don't even realize the job got done, because you don't see healing in that sense. You see pain, but you don't see the healing. You soon forget. So I'd like to start with, I want to go through the oils and explain how I work with them. So the first oil which I started working with, I decided to call healing oil, because it made sense, because I was a healer, which is this healing oil. Fascinating, because the healing oil, when I first started at 38 years old, had about 30 to 50, maybe 100 different oils in. And it was beautiful working with all of these smells. And people were saying, you know, a lot of people who work with oil said, well, they don't go together. And I'll say, well, what do you think? It's beautiful, but they don't go together, Mark. And I said, no, that's your training. That's your program. I don't look at that. I go on smell, I go on energy, and I work with them daily. So it neutralizes anything that other people say. And then they kind of went, wow, yeah. And a lot of people have changed their ways about what they've learned. And there are certainly some oils you don't mix together. I don't know what they are, I'm sure. But I'm just saying that when I work with a channeled energy. I smell, I feel, and if it feels right, I listen, and then I put it in. So at one time, I used to have little bottles like this that I used to save up 15, 20, 22 euros for a bottle, sometimes 5 euros, depending on what they were. And I'd then put them into my oil, and I'd give them away with the client after a healing session. And they'd be in a little bottle, little tiny small bottle. And I'd say, please keep using this and do some healing work on yourself. And I'd show them a little bit of how to do healing on themselves, so they didn't need to come back. I'd hope that they wouldn't come back and they'd learn how to heal themselves, because I was very aware that my prices weren't cheap. There was 60 euros for a healing session then when I first started. When I first started, it was 25, and then it went up. It was free, and then it was 25. It went up and up gradually. But yeah, I was like, the time that I was like doing these little bottles and giving, it were about, maybe it might have been 45. It doesn't matter. But I was aware that, wow, if you can heal yourself and use these oils, keep up this energy, keep up this beautiful light that's inside you. Put your hand on your heart, put your hand on your forehead when you're lying down, put your hand on your heart and forehead, hand on your stomach, and just breathe out the negative and breathe in and feel the energy working, and then move your hands to where it needs to be and place the oil where you feel you need it to be. So a lot of the times I'll make these videos over the years and say, this is where predominantly I'd use the oils, but you should use the oils wherever you feel pulled to, because you are now channeling, you're the channel. So that was predominantly how I worked. I'd make you become the healer. I'd make you become the expert, and I'd make you listen to your inner guidance. That was my true work, not really a healer. My true work was to give you the confidence to be the best healer that you already are. So this bottle, I'd get loads of little bottles and pour them in. And then I realized that jar wasn't big enough. So it got bigger and bigger over the years. But anyway, as I placed oils in, I was placing crystals in as well. So crystals would go in and come out. First of all, the healing oil, became that what I believed at the beginning wasn't necessary to look forward and even think about using anything else, because this healing jar was everything I needed. It would work. It worked on everything. It was like brilliant for so long. So as I was healing people who were physically distressed, maybe I should just talk about how I worked with it. There's three predominant places where I'd work with this oil, and it was pretty much the back and across the kidneys. I'd ask my clients to rub it there, always. I'd ask my clients to rub the healing oil across the stomach as well, so back and stomach. And then depending on what I felt with my client, I'd say, please try to put some here and here, rub some here and here. Please breathe it in through the nose. And depending on what was going on with them, I would also tune to other places. Now, why would I, use the healing oil on the back and on the stomach? Because I think most of our pain and suffering lies in those places, those two places around that area, back and stomach. So as I was working with it, healing oil can be used for anything. You can use it to heal your nasty thoughts. So you would put it on your temples. And to heal the block within the third eye, you'd rub it on your third eye, you'd rub it on your crown to heal whatever is there. Clear, heal. And in time of using this oil on, say, my client's feet or knees, or rub it in their hands and breathe it in as much as you can, rubbing it on their throat, rubbing it on the back of their neck. Sometimes when I was doing a healing session, I'd put some on my hands, and if the client had bare skin because they were wearing a short top, I might lay my hands on their shoulders with the oil on, just to give good energy if they're sat on a seat. So I used to do many different things with this healing oil. But then what happened was a lot of people started coming to me with major issues of negativity, major issues of attacks, major issues of people wanting to hurt them physically and emotionally. And they were carrying such heavy energy that one day I had a thought that I need something stronger. I need something stronger. So from the healing oil, which today holds about 15 different oils within it, and it's predominantly now the smell, and for the past couple of years or longer, the smell has been an oil from France, actually, and it's beautiful, and it's called lavender. But there's also other oils mixed in there as well. There's cedar wood. There's a little bit of pine in there, and a few others that, depending on whether I can get them or not, go into it. But just at the moment, you will get a great smell of the most purified and powerful. You can feel it and smell it, of lavender. The cleansing oil, I was so lucky because the channel message at the time was a burning of a stick that I saw a shaman use, and I couldn't understand what it meant until I started asking. And it was Paulo Santo, and I'd seen this shaman. I think it was Pizarro, and he was using this stick, and I asked my friend what was the stick, and apparently it's from Peru. And I said, is there any way you could make it into an oil? And they said, yes, I'm sure you can. So I started making some inquiries, and I've had about 5 or 6 different people from Peru who have made Palo Santo oil. And now I'm extremely happy with the person that makes it because of not just the authenticity of it, but the way it's made and the way it's respected by the trees. It's not raped. It's done in the same way as my incense sticks. So I'm so pleased. And I have to wait sometimes 6 months. And behind me here, there is one bottle of Palo Santo. And that there's a fortune in there. There's a fortune in there. And you can buy Palo Santo, which isn't Palo Santo. So many people have sent me Palo Santo, and it's not Palo Santo, or it's a rip-off version, or it's not a good sample at all. I have pure. So the first time I decided to make my second oil was because I wanted to help people who were deep in attachments, real heavy depression, people who were suicidal, children especially. I had a spate of children coming. So this oil would be used, and the crystals that were in there were normally tektites, and like now over there, there's still probably 100 tektites from Vietnam, Cambodia, and there's also other crystals like purple, which is the beautiful labradorite, also black tourmaline, and many, many others, which were for purely cleansing energy. And I would often rub this on the back more than the healing oil. So the healing oil then turned to the front. I was focused on the stomach predominantly then. But now I've got another healing oil, which was for the really heavy stuff, the really heavy spiritual work. And this can be rubbed anywhere on the body, anywhere where you feel heaviness. And it's an instant cleanser of negative energy, fear energy. It's so powerful and so amazing. There are probably about 200 oils in the cleansing oil, but now predominantly there is a huge amount of Palo Santo in there now because it works incredible, but there's also many other oils in there too. So that was great. And then thereafter, as I was really enjoying my healing process with these 2 oils, for some reason, all of a sudden, one week, about 4 or 5 or 6 people came, and it was all the same conversation. And it was about the fact that everything was going wrong in their life. So you can see the change now of what's happening and how the influence of the oils came about. And it was like the first word I kept saying was abundance, abundance, as I was giving healing, give them abundance. And I wanted to make them abundant. I wanted them to feel abundant. So as I'm giving a healing session, working with crystals of abundance, pyrite, lots of like gold, of course, you want to give them the gold, you want to give them love, but it's not on a monetary value, but you're looking for abundance and the abundance of everything, abundance of happiness, joy, health, well-being, everything. So I poured the first jar of healing oil into a new jar. I poured the cleansing oil into it, and I thought, okay, now I'm going to start a new oil with the other 2 oils in there. So I've got my Mentor's oil, which is 30, 40, 50 years old, whatever you believe, it doesn't matter anyway, but many years. And now we're adding these through the years. So 1 year, 2 year, 3 year goes by, and they start, you can see that it's a natural, it's like, okay, this week I'm going to make another. No, it was never like that. It happened as it was meant to. I was too busy to think about anything, but the time came when it was right that, oh my God, all my clients are coming for this reason. So, if I'm trying to give them abundance, it's very difficult to find abundance in the oil where it's healing or where it's cleansing. So I'm thinking I need to make an abundance oil. And that's how the abundance started. So I started working with a really beautiful oil, which I loved. I absolutely loved. I loved for years. And it's called Ylang Ylang. I can never pronounce it right. Lang Lang. Ylang Ylang. And obviously I used other oils in there, lots of other oils. But Ylang Ylang became the major factor of the abundance. It just felt so right. So today you will smell Ylang Ylang, and it's a really high quality. It's beautiful. And I found that rubbing it on the heart worked really well. Abundance, give them abundance. It was just wonderful. And another good place to rub abundance oil as well is on the shoulders and midway down the back, if you can get to it. Normally I used to, ask my client to sit up and I'd rub it on. I said, do you mind if I put some of the oil there? And I'd rub it on there. And also I'd rub it on the knees, because I would do healing work on the knees, on the back while they were sat down. I'd go down on my knees and hold their knees. And I'd do an abundance ritual. I used to do abundance rituals, and people used to say, Mark, my life has changed after the abundance ritual. And it would be an hour abundance ritual. What was that? Well, first of all, you'd sit down. I'd put rice in your hand, okay, and I'd put the abundance oil on your chest, or you'd rub it on your chest, on your back. I'd put one hand on the chest and one hand on the back while you sat down, and I'm stood up, and I would give you this energy, and the rice that would be in your hand would be clearing out any of the blocks for you to allow self-worth in. And then I'd sage them, so they still got the rice had come out of the hands, and then I'd sage them, and then I'd work on the heart and on their knees, and then lie them down for a healing session. And that would be that I was always full up with that. People always wanted it. It was like people would go and tell their friends that it changed their life, that abundance had come into their life. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed doing that. And I think, like anything, if you truly focus and you really care and you really want that person to feel better, it really is that simple. It can happen. And where you focus the attention, I think you can't go wrong. Just like I focused the attention on my oils. I'm going to tell you something now, which I don't really say, but I've many people here who wanted to help me, who wanted a job, who wanted to do, and they were so impressed with what I did. They were so overwhelmed. And I said, okay, then if you want to give it a trial, I'll give you a trial. And after 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I'd be extremely disappointed because they didn't do what they said they were going to do. And I knew they were lying, and they might do 10 minutes and then get bored. Nobody that I've ever met ever had the same enthusiasm and energy to put into crystals or oils or incense like me. Nobody. They say they want it and they're excited, but when it comes to really doing it, very, very, very few people in this world actually do it. So there's a lot of talk. So if you do it and you put the love into it, then you've probably got as equally powerful bottle of oil or crystals than anybody in the world. So Ylang Ylang and abundance is phenomenal. So they were the 3 bottles that I used everywhere I went. So now, if I'm ever dealing with people who are really negative and suicidal, I've got my cleansing oil. If I'm dealing with somebody who was physically sick and not well and not feeling well, I've got my healing oil. And now I've got this beautiful abundance to bring people into the abundance energy. Perfect, eh? So them three have always been with me for all of these years. So I was meditating with at the time Leila Sati, because she was being taught at that time by me to become a pure energy healing instructor. So we spent time together, and we were meditating one day, and we both meditated and stopped, and we both wrote down practically the same thing. And it was to create another oil, and it was to be called sacred oil, sacred. And what was written down was so powerful. It was Palo Santo, which it had to be. It was frankincense, and it was sage. And thus we created this incredible oil. If you ask me what this oil is for, I think it's for the most suffered person in the world. So if somebody suffers all the time, constantly, it's one of the most powerful oils. I actually used this oil when I went through a challenging moment with a girl that was on my doorstep who'd just been beaten up. And when she left, I took some of that residue, and it was stuck inside my back. And I thought, well, now couldn't be a more perfect time to know whether this oil is going to work, because what stuck in my back was something I'd never felt before. And I do know from somebody who had the same issue, they had it for 3 months. They couldn't get rid of the pain. It was there constantly. And I thought, wow, I've been lucky enough never to have experienced that. But now I've got this pain. So I thought, okay, so I got the jar, and I took some drops, and I rubbed it on my back, exactly where the pain was, this dark energy. And I kid you not, for the first time, I understood that energy moves, actually runs away. And the energy ran across my back to the other side. And I was totally in shock, because I've been working as a healer for 12 solid years. And only now I understand that energy actually moves. Whereas before, you go from place to place and you do the healing session, because you don't know what the client is feeling. And no, not one client ever said, oh, I could feel the energy move somewhere else. But I experienced this, and it was the deepest, heaviest, darkest energy that I'd ever felt. Some people have asked me, do you think it was an attachment? And I said, I think it might be. So I rubbed it all across my back, and within moments it disappeared. And that's when I went, my God, Jesus Christ. I made some phone calls, and I said, I kid you not, this oil is going to be the best oil ever. And it really is fantastic. So I made some inquiries about frankincense oil, because I'd never used it before. And it was so difficult to get, because most of the frankincense has been hoarded by the Catholic Church. But I managed to get some authentic, and I want the same as the Catholic Church, I said. So I managed to get it. So that somebody might say, well, what would be the difference between the cleansing oil or the healing oil to the sacred oil? I think the sacred oil is used for things that are deemed very sacred. I believe, when you're clearing entities, when you're dealing with something so profound, whether it's powerful in magic or whether it's a really, really heavy energy, that is a sacred moment where it just steps up to a higher place. It's just that bit more. So I'm doing a meditation. Fine, fantastic. You use, a certain oil for meditation. I am now going to do meditation in a way which is far more powerful. I'm looking at going so deep in the meditation that I may do absent healing. I may do out of body experience. I may want to try and get to a state of nirvana or something that is just goes beyond, over and above anything that you would do on a normal weekly, monthly thing. So, like for me, if it's a ritual, that is what I'd use now, ritual work. So, and so on. Always going back to the point that I said to you before, always choose what feels right. Just because of what I say doesn't make it right. So there might be a time that I might think, okay, I'm using this oil for this, and then all of a sudden I'll choose another oil. Follow that. Don't follow the guidance of Mark Bayerski. Follow the guidance of your higher self in the moment. That is the golden rule, because you only know at the time, at the moment, what is good for you. So from there, it was kind of evident that everybody was getting so excited about Moldavite oil. Moldavite. And I said, how am I going to make myself the Moldavite oil? And again, there was only one oil that I really truly thought would really be the best oil, and that's Palo Santo. But I also, to this day, I also added all the other oils in, but as of late, I've liked myrrh. So I put myrrh in with the Palo Santo with Moldavite, and it feels just right. It's just perfect for me. So the Moldavite oil to me is where I'm trying to go to a higher frequency of different worlds within worlds. So you could say you're trying to connect to extraterrestrial, or you're trying to connect to something that is far different from the spirit world. You're trying to go beyond the beyond. And Moldavite is what I use. I normally use it on my third eye, but I also put it on my crown chakra. I always rub some up here, always put it here. And it just seems to do the work. It just seems to, I don't know, it has this connection like Moldavite. So I do put Moldavites in. My Moldavite oil, I think, is over there. And there's about, I don't know, I'm not here to brag, but there might be about 15, 20,000 euros of Moldavites in there from all different parts of the Czech Republic. And I actually now like to leave them in there and just keep them there. I used to put them in there when I didn't have a lot of money and take them out and then mount them. But now I'm blessed enough that my business can afford to keep the Moldavites in there. So if ever I go maybe once or twice a year to the Czech Republic, I will look for certain Moldavites. I'll go to the, normally I go to the, I normally go to the museum first. I can't remember what the place is called. Is it Cheshire Crumble? Cheshire Crumble. I can't remember. But anyway, I go in there and have a look, and I scan and see what feels right. So I'll go and get a certain crystal from the Czech Republic. It might not be anywhere near Maliklum or Besanits, and they're my favorites, but it might be somewhere totally different. But it's okay, because we're now changing the frequency even more. We're adding to it. So I always set aside about 1,000 euros of Moldavite to go into the oil. And that's how I keep the frequency high. I have two Moldavite oils, one which is simply the Moldavite oil that comes out with all the Moldavites in there, but I also do a Moldavite oil with a piece of Maliklum, and I drop it in. It could be a tiny piece, but I work on them pieces for over 16 hours. So what I do is, like, I normally do it over a three-week period. I'll bring back Moldavites and I'll put them into a bag. And these are dedicated to my Moldavite oils with Moldavite chip inside. And I'll sit with them and I'll meditate with them, and I'll use my singing bowl, which is a singing bowl made of it's a Moldavite singing bowl frequency. And I'll use that and I'll work with that, and I'll just put energy into them. And while I'm doing work as Moldavite work, I'll always bring them out and use them till I'm sure they're ready. And you can feel the frequency. It's fun. It's just, you go tingly. It's incredible. And then each piece I get, I'll sing bowl and hold the piece in my hand with two hands and quickly say a little, it depends. Every time I get a fresh batch, I normally say something different, but I have like a little mantra, and I'll say it and then drop it in. I love working with Moldavite. I can work with it's sometimes too much, and sometimes I need to go outside here and sit down for an hour because it's too much. But then I come back and I'm fresh, and I'll crack on with it again. The Moldavite oil should be used wherever you feel. I love to breathe the Moldavite oil in, and also I like to rub it on my back of my neck. Okay, so these are the places I like to use them. The third eye, crown chakra, back of my neck. It just feels like my pineal gland is being exposed to this energy, this frequency, this oil, and it's building up and it's opening up, and it's I think it's incredible. Because Moldavite became so expensive, 25, 35 a gram, it's become difficult for me to get the stuff. And small chips, you've got to understand that people don't like digging for them. They don't want to dig for them. Why do you want to? I don't even want to dig for it. I mean, what am I going to get for a chip? You know, so people don't really bother. They're looking for the big pieces, and they don't even bother with the chips. So it's very hard to get chips. It's literally impossible to get chips, but there's certain people who will do it. So I haven't got any now, run out. So I was actually going to go to the Czech Republic yesterday after sheep farm. I did something on sheep farm, and I thought, right, I'm going to go. But I didn't. But I have to go because it's time for me to get more Moldavite. So the Moldavite oil is fantastic if you're working, if you're a practitioner, and somebody is, let's say, you know, some people who just come for a healing session because their wife told them to, you know, like, oh, I'm only here because of my wife. Or somebody's very dubious about what you're doing, and they might seem not to trust you, or they don't believe it, but they're here because they've heard about you, so you're going to try. I would use the Moldavite oil on them, because there's something about the Moldavite oil that gives them this awakening, this powerful moment. And use Moldavite, of course, as well at the same time. Get a piece of Moldavite and put it on their third eye. And normally the hits are so good, so powerful, that you realize you've got such a good tool. So I managed to get some, because the company that I use, one of the companies here in France, sometimes they can, they can't, and I have to wait sometimes a long time. But the myrrh is from France, so it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And then moved on to an oil which I don't have anymore, because it was about broken hearts. And at the time, there was many people having broken hearts, and we all know why. People were falling out. People were, because of all this nonsense, what was going on, people were hating each other. And I thought, I'm going to make a healing heart oil. And then it changed, because that frequency went. So it went to a new frequency of, now it's time to strengthen the heart. So there is no more broken hearts. So now it's more of, we're going to have to, Mark, we're going to have to keep people in a good frequency so they don't break their heart, you know. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It's like managing it's managing your body so you don't fall too far. And thus I created the next oil, which is called Golden Heart. And Golden Heart is exactly what it says. It's to make your heart golden, pure, and strong. Now, there was one oil that I always wanted, but I couldn't afford because it's so expensive. And it's called absolute. So it's not like all these other oils, but the absolute is jasmine, absolute. Now, there's a different way of how they distill this, and I'm not 100% sure, but that's the only way you can get it. But like the healing heartache oil, which was pure rose from Bulgaria, that cost literally thousands and thousands. And it was beautiful, but we wanted to step up a level. And the golden heart, from the moment I made it, I sent it to 5 clients who were all struggling in life. And I said, just rub this on your heart. And the feedback was incredible. And I thought, okay, this stuff is good. So it was a while that I had the courage to change from healing heartache oil to golden heart. But then the transition was very smooth, and I was so thankful for it. I used it and loved it. And I wanted it from, for some reason, golden heart reminds me a bit like Golden Relief from Don Tolman, and everything Don Tolman does is Egyptology, basically. So I said, is there any, this was a beautiful fact, is there any Yasmin that comes from Egypt? Yes, I want that. So that's how it started. And the crystals that went into that oil was really powerful. Citrine. There was a new crystal that I'd started working on that everybody was bullying me into get, and it was great for the heart, and that was called Libyan Desert Glass. So I literally got 2,000 euros of Libyan Desert Glass, and I put about 500 or 600 euros worth of Libyan Desert Glass into there, and so on. So there's about I don't know, 15, 20 different types of beautiful crystals, all to do with the heart. Obviously, you know yourself, I've probably got, and I have got a beautiful high quality piece of rose quartz in there. Of course, it's the heart. And also some other beautiful rubies, some beautiful rubies. So they're in the oil. And the golden heart to me is just where it should be, the heart. Self-healing on the heart is fantastic. So it's keeping you strong from depression. It's keeping you strong from feeling suicidal. It's keeping you strong from, any kind of upset with the heart. That's become a fabulous oil. I love it so much, and I love the smell. So from there, it kind of, as I was doing the videos, people were saying, how do you awaken, Mark? How do you awaken? And I'm like, well, I can do some work. What oil would you use? Maybe it's time to find an oil, or an awakening oil. So as I said that, I turned, and there was many synchronicities, but one of them, looking back now, was looking at the Buddha. And as I looked at the Buddha, I looked at his head. And I remember my first mentor saying, what do you, when you look at the Buddha, what do you think? And I said, well, it's a strange hairdo. And I said, I'd never thought anybody would do a hairdo like that. And she said, it's not actually a hairdo, it's a symbol. And I said, is it? What kind of symbol? Well, what does it look like? And I said, I have no idea. And she said, it's a symbol of the pineal gland. And I said, how do you know? What is the pineal gland? And she said, it's a real thing. It's inside the brain. And I went, oh. I said, is it the alpha mode? And she said, that's a good question. Is it the same thing as the alpha muscle? She said, a good question. I don't want to talk about this now, but it's another story. So I'm going, she said, what kind of, if there was a tree and it bore, something off there, what would it? And I'm saying, oh, I don't know. She says, what about a pine cone? I'm like, wow, yeah, I've seen them before. They're all over structures, these pine cones. She says, yeah, because it's a symbol of the pineal gland. I went, oh, and that's why it's on his head, because he's a symbol symbolizing the connection to all that is, I went, wow. So I look back and remember these things, and I'm thinking, it makes so much sense. Let's get pine oil. So I made some inquiries. Can we get some pine oil? Yeah. My pine oil came from France and then actually came from Spain. And it was perfect. So pine oil and all the other oils, because every single one of my oils, there's a bit of each of the oils that go in there because I want memory of everything. So the awakening oil was, I remember the first month we were doing awakening meditation, we were doing awakening healing, we were doing awakening all sorts of stuff. If you remember, we did lives and it was fascinating, and we were getting some amazing hits. Again, crown chakra, rub the oil in the crown chakra, third eye. I was telling people to put it on the temples, breathe it in, back of the neck, anywhere up here, anywhere around here, behind the ears, and we was doing great work. So the awakening oil were for people to try and help people awaken, and people were buying it for their partners and rubbing it on, and they were saying that they're opening up, they're changing a little bit, and I'm like, wow, that's really nice. So I love the awakening oil, and I love the idea of the pine. And again, it's all synchronicity. It's all things that not only you've learned, but things that you channel. So like there came a point where we were all going through the nonsense, and this idea of trying to cleanse turned into purifying. We need to purify. And I remember saying, listen, I'm going to make an oil with you guys, and I'm going to show you how I make the oils. And I had a sticker. I had loads of stickers made with one called Purifying, which I never got round to do because I thought one day, because of the nonsense and what happened, and people were taking, mainstream medication, a lot of people were getting sick, and it made sense. The time was right. So it happened where I thought, okay, let's do it. So I went locally to some of my friends who have shops that sell different oils, and I chose about 10, 15, and I brought them here, and I started with the oil which predominantly used to be the three oils: the cleansing, the purifying, the abundance, and the healing. Used to have a really nice oil which was almond, but then everybody was saying, well, what about if I get a reaction? Never to this day that anybody's had a reaction. Only one lady at the healing circle who had a red mark there, and she said, look what your oil's doing. And I said, well, when did you put it on? She says, I put it on all the time. And I says, well, you've got to let your skin breathe. You only put a little bit on, that's it. You're not meant to be, I've been putting it on all the time. I'm like, well, maybe that's why it's the way it is. Maybe you should just back off a little bit and let your skin breathe a bit as well. But that was the only time. I never had a reaction. But then because you're selling now and you're growing, Mark, and people are buying from all over the world, maybe I should start looking at a different oil. And I tried 5 or 6 or 7 oils as carriers, as the major carrier oil. But to be fair, my oils carry more of the natural oil than the carrier. Well, not all the time, but a lot of the time. I mean, literally, I pour it in there. So grapeseed oil seemed to be really nice. And I thought, okay, well, it's grape. It's not a nut. So from the 3 oils, which, because remember that they never run out. These oils never run out. They're all half full. So I'm thinking, okay, the first 3 oils still may contain a nut oil, but I've used it that many times, it must have diluted down. Surely the energy is in there, but not the nut oil per se. But anyway, I kept it like that on the website and said it may contain traces of that. But all the other oils are all grapeseed oil, just on a side note. So purifying oil, we ended up using quite a lot of different types, but I ended up with 4 predominant oils in there. And it was orange, fabulous orange. Cedarwood, I like cedarwood in there as well. Grapefruit, and a beautiful lime. And it really is a purifying oil, and that is used on the chest. It's used on the back. It's used on the forehead, and anywhere that you feel you want to purify your body. So I can say it now, but the guy downstairs is a mechanic, and he was bad. He was bad. I mean, he was bad. He'd had all 3 in his arm. And I was watching him day by day, and I was like, I can see him. I can see his face, and I can see he can't move properly and look like he's going to faint, and he looks like he's going to die. And I went downstairs and I said, "Are you all right?" He said, "No." I said, "It's because you've this." And he went like that. I said, "Have you been sick before this?" He says, "Never. Never a day off in his life." Okay, well, So I said, "Do you mind if I do something for you now?" And he said, "Anything." So we went into the garage. His wife was there, and I said, "I want to help him." And she said, "Please help him." So I got this purifying oil and I rubbed it on him, and I sat him down, and I gave a healing session, and then I left some teas with him. And the tea was a channeled, and some people might be on here who remember I channeled. I could see a horse's head, and some beautiful soul. I can't remember who it was. Was it Andrew? I can't remember. But somebody then eventually said, "Hey, there's an actual herb called horsetail." And I said, "That's it. That's it." And so I hunted for horsetail. Took me ages because most of it's been contaminated. But I found a company. So anyway, that's going off track. But anyway, they drunk that. They rub the oil on every single day, and they cleanse themselves. And now he's fine, and he uses it all the time. Purifying oil is fantastic. There were so many people going through such pain and suffering of watching their loved ones become sick that they were struggling to look after them. And I was having message after message saying, "Mark, I'm just exhausted." So it made sense to make an energizing oil. And there was only one oil, there was only one fruit that I believed would work if it was possible. So I said, lemon, 100% lemon. Is it possible? Yes, no problem. I want it from Spain. It all came, loads and loads of them, and I created. And it's just the one oil in there with the base oil. And I've got lemon quartz, real lemon quartz, about 30, 40 pieces in the lemon oil. And it's called Energizing. Energizing. And that also was fantastic because I gave a bottle to the guy downstairs and said, "Please use that as well." Energizing is to give people strength to get through the day, and it's fantastic. Lemon oil is fantastic. Of course, it's not just lemon oil. I add every other oil into it because every one of my oils added into it. But predominantly, there is lemon, pure lemon in there, and lemon is incredible. Detoxing, purifying, all of the above, energizing, and mostly it gives you positivity. So rubbing it on the places of the heart, on the throat to make you speak and freely, to speak your mind, to speak your truth in a loving way. If you're doing any kind of psychic work, it's great because sometimes it's exhausting. So you need something to make you strong again. So I use this oil on, it just lifts you up, feel great. I put some here sometimes, breathe it in, or I'll breathe it in through my nose. It's just beautiful. So under the feet, fabulous under the feet. Back of the knees, fabulous back of the knees. Here, just here, in between, just there. Fabulous. Why is that? I don't know, but it's beautiful. Here, fabulous. Here, great. Back of the neck again, up and down. Fabulous. Wonderful. Back of the ears, wonderful. So that's a great oil to use from day to day. Fabulous. Keeps you strong. And then finally, so many people were saying, I lost my business. I've lost everything in these 3 years. And I said, I'm so sorry. I'll send you my oils. And eventually the staff was saying, we can't keep sending free. It's just costing too much. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. So then I thought, well, it's time that I get all of the oils, make one jar, and take out of all these oils equal amounts and put them in one jar and create my final oil. One oil to rule them all, so to speak. And that is called mystical oil, because it has all the mystical energies of all the oils together. And plus, I now can send this out. And this is my most gifted oil, because people who have no money get this sent to them because you've got all the oils in there. That, my friends, concludes my 10 oils that I am so proud of. I did say at one time that I would never sell one of the oils, but it just ended up that I gift one of the oils out of all of them. And I end up normally giving the oils away by saying, okay, how do we cover the cost of DHL, which is, anywhere between, I think it's 32 and 42 now. It's going up every day. So you've got the 42, then all my bottles, then all my stoppers, then all my stickers, then all the work that I do, and all the oils that I buy and hunt behind you. One of the most prestigious and beautiful companies in France. How do you manage to do that? Well, we sell them at less than cost. Let's just do it. So right now, all of these oils are 120, including free DHL. And I do it out of love. And I'll say, just put 50 bottles of each aside, and let's just sell them to people who can, who can't afford. And I'll do it often. And all these oils are £298. That's what they cost. But they're now 120. So I think they're all amazing oils. I think they touch upon every aspect of our life. I'm really pleased with them, and I can't think of anything else that I would need to make another oil right now. This is, like, for me, perfect. And if I was a working healer today, they would be in my healing box, my toolkit, and they'd follow me everywhere I go, because I'd know they're fantastic. And I often do this. I often lay the oils out and don't look at them and just grab one. Like, I'll just grab one and then put it on and then look at what it is. Because sometimes if you are led by the mind, your mind will confuse you to get the right one. If you're led by just the flow, just to grab the first one that you get, then that seems to be far more accurate. And that's how I work as a healer. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let's move on to the Q&A now, questions and answers. And I hope to be able to answer you. If I can't, I'll just say I don't know. But that's the extent of my understanding of healing oils and what I've done. So from now, any questions that you've got, please ask away if you have any. Hope to have answered most of your questions. But please, if you've got one that you're burning to ask, please ask, because I haven't been looking at any of the of the chat, and I hope you've been enjoying this, and I hope you've all connected and having a great chat and sharing your information with each other, because mine isn't the only information. My oils aren't the only oils. I use Don Tolman's oil, and he's actually given me permission. Well, not just giving it me, but I did a deal, and I paid to do that. So I paid a lot of money to get that. But one day I'll be selling his oil, which I feel is fantastic for cuts, burns, insect bites, toothaches. And I've got nearly all of them, but I haven't got the gold, the solid gold flakes yet. And there's another two more oils that I'm trying to find, which I'm really struggling with at this moment. I can't find them, and the ones that I do find are all non. They're not organic, so I'm not interested. And so I won't ever make it unless I can find the sources. And I've got most of them apart from two. And the way these are being made, the golden heart, don't bother buying it if you don't live in America or Canada or Australia. Don't bother, because it's really hard to get that oil to come over to the UK and to Spain. I so many times got sent back, or it had to come through. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. That's why he's allowed me to do it, and he'll be receiving a percentage of all my profits of that oil, which I'm glad. I'm happy to, because I want this oil to get out there, and I want you guys to have it. But that won't be my oil. That will be Don Tolman's oil, which I want to sell, and I don't sell anybody's product. But I love his product just like I love my products. So, that's what I hope to do in the near future, as a side note. Now, it's a great question, but then I would put that question back to you, Jason. Why are you getting a headache? Because a headache is only an expression of what you're going through. Headaches don't just happen. Headache can be eating chocolate. Headaches can be in bad negative energy in a place that you like working. It could be so many reasons. We need to know what the headache, what caused the headache, because the headache is only an expression of what you're going through. Sorry to say, so I can't answer that unless you give me more info. Yeah, well, I used to use this oil on the feet, and it used to go through the body and go straight to where the point was. So, to answer your question, 100% yes. But there are times that you want to target something, right? So, you know, if I'm going to try and do some psychic work, I'm going to be rubbing it here, right? I'm going to be rubbing it here or here. So, yes, to answer your question, that's a definite yes. Wow, that's a great question. I would actually choose a different one most days, because every day is a different day for me. So I wouldn't. For me, I'd probably go for sacred. But somebody will say, "Well, hang on a minute. What about the mystical? It's got everything in." Makes sense. Good. Nice to hear that, Claire. Yeah, at the moment I'm finding that natural citrine for depression is becoming really good. So, but it's got to be a natural one, not a fired one. And the healing oil, again, depression. Where is the depression coming from? What is the cause of the depression? What is making her depressed? When you find out what that is, you can then get the two together and find the right oil which will help. Depression, I give you a great example, right? I've got a friend now who's going through depression. Why? Because her husband cheated on her. So the depression was the cheating on her was the cause of the depression. So you need to find something to help heal yourself from that cheating. So what would I turn to? Golden heart, to strengthen the heart. I'm not trying to, I don't try and treat, a doctor treats the issue what's showing. I treat the root cause. So always ask me the question as the root cause, not the symptoms are showing. Now that they're just the symptoms. You heal the symptoms and the cause is going to keep coming back. The root cause keeps coming back. Do you understand that? Yeah, well, that's really nice. And more so to people who can speak that way, because you feel better then when people are sending that kind of love to you. Again, what is the body circulation issue? Why is that person going through? You can't rub an oil on to somebody that will help them, but they're eating the worst food because they keep going back to eating the wrong food, or they're going through pain and suffering with stress. So you need to figure out what the stress, what is the problem with the body circulation. Yeah, that's amazing. Fantastic. Water girl, that is so beautiful to hear. And also remember that saging is a fantastic thing because it clears so many symptoms, but again, it doesn't clear the root cause, but really it does help. So chronic depression, how did that start? What was the cause of the chronic depression? The low self-esteem. Well, where does that come from? Where does that originate from? Because I would have said it's the low self-esteem before the chronic depression. How did the chronic depression start? You need to strengthen that person up, right? You need to figure out what's made that person feel that way. So I'd be looking at abundance oil to make them strong again and bring all the abundance back into their life. I'd be putting golden heart oil on their heart every night, abundance oil on their heart in the morning, and keep working on that. Thank you, Sue. Thanks so much. And you know how to use them oils. I can't tell you how to use them oils. You've got to figure that out for yourself. I'm just giving you ideas of how I think when I'm doing a healing session over the years. Nicotine vapors, by the way, guys, are now being filled with RNA, DNA. Be very careful. Very nice. I don't know. I've never used it, but thank you for that, Stuart. Definitely out of sunlight. But I don't really have any issues, and it's hot here. But I do keep all of my oils, which are in these containers, and they're in a cool place. But yeah, they don't come with instructions. No, they don't. But they have a lifespan. But most of my clients tell me that it lasts 2 or 3 years sometimes. So, and I mean, I have an oil up there which has been there for maybe 5 years, something like that. And it might not have the smell, but it still has the energy, and I'll still use it. So it's not always about the smell. It's about the frequency and energy that's inside. Yeah, meditation. Again, meditation can be a healing meditation. It can be a meditation to connect to your family in the spirit world. What I'm seeing here is to clear, and I would be looking at cleansing oil or sacred oil to clear away the frequency and energy of healing oil. Third eye, probably here as well, heart, across your back. I'd just basically use about 9 drops of oil. I'd concentrate on 3 drops around here and 3 drops lower down. Don Tolman does have an American online store. You just have to be careful which store, because he got his product stolen by somebody. So somebody's calling themselves Don Tolman products, but they're not actually Don Tolman's products. But this is what happens to all the great people. People just steal everything that they have. Ear problems, that's interesting. I'd probably go with the healing oil, and I'd rub the healing oil around here every day and at the back of the neck every day. And I would definitely breathe the healing oil. I'll just scan down a little bit and see if there's anything else I had to. Wow. That's really good. Yeah, that's really, really good. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Wow. Yeah, amazing. Good for you. Well done, you, Benjamin. Thank you. Yeah, cannabis is fantastic. Cannabis oil, or if you smoke it, I used to sell the cannabis oil from a fantastic healer of plants up in the Alpujarras. I used to buy it all, but then it became like, yeah, somebody started having a go at me saying, I thought it's meant to heal my mother's cancer. And I'm like, okay, I never said that. Never said that. And then I thought, this is too dodgy. You have to be so careful. Well done. Thank you, Haley. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. And that is all worthwhile when I read things like that. Thank you so much. Yeah, the hearing now, guys, the tinnitus, the hearing problems, a lot of people are struggling, even with being very close to somebody who's had 3 dart finish and boosters. Yeah, that's why I keep myself to myself. I'm doing one now, Jackie. I think. So if it's isolation, you need to find something that's going to strengthen her from the fear. So isolation means that you don't want to connect or be with people. So you need to strengthen yourself up. So which oil would you say is going to be the most strengthening oil to help you with self-confidence? For me, it's golden heart, because everything is for me all to do with the heart. Communication, yeah, opening up and communicate, that's the throat area. So you'll be using that oil on the throat area, which I'd probably use, I don't know, something to strengthen. I'm not sure. For some reason, I'm just keep being pulled back to the mystical. So I'd probably put all of it on my throat. So I'd do it for a 1 month. Every morning, I'd be putting mystical oil on my throat, and in the morning and night, just in the morning, but morning and night, I'd use the golden heart. Morning, and then at night, rub the golden heart. That's what I'd attune to, probably. I'd probably go for energizing. On this note about multivitamins, I've said this for like 2, 3, 4 years now. I don't trust any multivitamins because most of the major companies have bought them all up. So they went on the attack. They realized that it started many years ago with Codex Alimentarius. They tried to stop all natural products from being sold. They couldn't do it. It just couldn't happen because everybody fought back. So what's the next best thing? Buy all the companies out or stop them from making them. And that's what they've been doing ever since. So I don't buy Solgar anymore. I just make sure I get locally. A good one to go to is Carl de Clark. He has some great products. I use them. Health Bunker has just started. That's Dom. He's started to, I don't know if he's selling it or not, but he's doing vitamin C and vitamin B12 and stuff like that. But I'm really careful where I buy my stuff from. Very careful now. Avocado is pretty cool. I've got some of his stuff, David Avocado as well. So I trust his stuff as well. It's great because when he shows me, he actually shows you where they're made, and he's totally against any corporation. So, you're normally safe with people like that. However, I must admit, I don't like the plastic capsules, even though they might be organic and they might be made of plant. I actually take them out and I'll digest that in water. I won't use them capsules. I don't care. Don't want them. Thanks, Mark. All right. Thank you. Well, it's 26 minutes. I've got a little girl who needs to go to the toilet now. That's Lily. I hope I've served you well tonight. I hope you, I know you've appreciated what I've shared with you. It's not really about me doing this because I need to sell the oils, because I don't. I don't need to sell anything now. Everything's fine. If I stop my work tomorrow, my company would still be selling because it's a good product. I made this because a few people were asking me about the oils and could you talk about the oils a little bit more, even though I've done 30, 50 videos, maybe more, on my oils on Mark Bajerski YouTube channel. But it's nice to talk about it with the realignment of the universe, the stars, what's going on in the world of evil in this world, and how maybe you've got a few hints and ideas of making your own oils, because I truly hope that you were inspired to make your own oils from this. And I would be honored if you would take these oils and make it the beginning of your oil, and then you start to create your own oils. That is ultimately power. Have a beautiful evening. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for trusting in my oils and not being judgmental like many oil makers are. Alchemy people say that I'm a fraud and I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but it's served me well over these years. And I sell literally thousands and thousands of these oils all the time. So I've got to be doing something right, because people wouldn't order them again. So you can call me what you want. And I think a lot of it is jealousy and programming. But I am not a program, and nobody's ever programmed me, and no teacher would ever program me. Yes, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to try it my way, because all what you've learned is only one person's experience that they felt worked. But who says that their experience is right? So I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that. I'll try it myself and say, I'm sorry, but I didn't get that with my oils. Oh, you can't do that with your oils. I do it with my oils all the time. Well, you can't. Why can't I? Sorry, I don't speak brainwashed. So don't talk to me, because you're trying to brainwash me into what you've been brainwashed into. Yeah, but it doesn't work. Well, it does for me. So I have respect. And why is it that I'm always attacked? Why is it always an attack energy on my oils? Why, you've never even used my oils. How can you even start to attack me when you haven't even tried them? It's incredible. This is why I keep myself to myself, guys. I truly keep myself to myself, because the amount of abuse you get and the judgmental energy of people in this field of work is brutal. And that's why I'm a loner, because I'm not being brainwashed into somebody's method when my method has worked. And that's my truth. So I always put this message out there. I always say that because I like to wake people up. I don't say it out of anger. I just want to wake certain people up. And that way it helps somebody thinking, okay, I'm going to do it myself. I don't care about them who's screaming and shouting, but I'm giving it to you what I'm going through. So you say, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, Matt. I'll make my own and stuff what they're saying. I'm going to give it a try. Good for you. Do it. Did it work? No, it didn't. Well, have you tried what? I tried this and this worked. Well, then it works for you then. So follow that. And if you know me, if you've ever been here, if you've ever been to my other place, if you've ever seen me around the world working, the first thing I ever say, guys, the first thing I ever say is after you've seen me work with these oils, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to be a puppet on the string? Or are you going to go and create your own oils now? Are you going to go and do your own healing work? Are you going to learn? Now you've learned my tarot cards that I've shown you this. What are you going to do with them cards now? How are you going to work with them? How are you going to work as this way? I open the door for you to be the best healer, psychic, crystal worker, oil worker. Whatever you do, you put your mark in this world because you are as important as any other person who stood there and said the same thing. Don't you ever forget there. Don't ever let anybody make you put them up there on a pedestal in that light. Because when you do that, guess who's in the shadows? As a Jan always says, why do you come to me to learn yoga? You've been coming to me for 10 years. Why? Because I like learning yoga. Well, it's time that you start to become the yoga teacher. And that's why I became Ajahn's friend, because I realized he's a true yoga teacher. He's a yogi. He's telling people to follow their path of this beautiful stepladder towards your enlightenment. So be the teacher. So I share with you. Don't listen to me with my oils. Take what you want, but be the teacher. Be the alchemist. Be the healer. Be the best that you are. Because any good teacher, any good guide will see you flourish and become even more powerful. And they will love you for it. And they will feel so much pride and joy and respect, and they will feel like they've accomplished something in their life. That is a true guide. The ones who get jealous and tell you not to do it without their permission and tell you to stop you, they are the ones that you need to run a mile, because that was my first teacher and I learned the most valuable lesson. So I thank her every day for it. Don't ever live your teacher's dreams. Don't ever live your teacher's unbecomings or unsuccess. Okay, be the success. Love you all. I'm gonna go. Lily is bursting for the toilet, and I've really enjoyed myself, guys. Have I just seen? Hello, is that sheep? I don't know who that is. Sheep farm. Is that Chris, who comes under Sheep Farm Studios, or is that Dom? Really enjoyed the chat last night. Now you can see how I talk so much, eh? So thank you for having me on, and you guys must come on one of my shows. Stuart, thank you. Thanks, Haley. Thanks, Matt, Mitch, Faith, Stardust. We're all Stardust. Sharon. Yeah. Thank you, guys. I'm wishing you all a lovely, lovely evening. Take care. Bye for now. Ciao. End broadcast, Mark. Bye, guys.